to It's Okay to Be Gay, the podcast.
All right, just a quick shout out because this is probably one of the most delicious seltzers I've had in a little while. It's Cork Mango Punch. I just finished the pineapple chili version. They were delicious, and I have to say I'm not at all upset that it's only 4% alcohol because they were flavorful AF. So give them a shot. No product placement. We're not making any money from this, but they were just delicious. So I have to let you know.
And I'll have to let you know, my Miller Lite was absolutely delicious tonight, too.
Fantastic. I'm a little jealous that I'm not drinking a real beer, but it's okay. I actually had an IPA earlier instead of dinner, so it's fine.
It's full-bodied and hazy, so
that's what I said. I was like,
you need, right?
My husband Jake was like, "Why are you having a beer? It's 5:00." And I was like, "I'm hungry." And he was like, "Well, eat something." And I was like, "I am."
No.
Veronica, how's your softball going?
So here's the thing, softball is just about to start, which I'm very excited. And I don't know if I explained this in any earlier podcasts. I know talked about how I play competitive disc golf. But in the summers, which I say summers like plural, last summer, I joined a beer league, softball beer league.
That sounds like fun.
Once a week. And one of my very good friends told me about because she was on the league the previous year. And I said, I have been wanting to play softball since forever. I played for a year in high school, and I absolutely loved it. Mediocre at best, but I love playing softball. I love it. So I had the chance to join this team last year. And they're called the Green Lanterns, which is the bar that sponsors us.
The Green Lanterns. I love it.
And it occurred to me, I think it was at the first game, wonderful group of ladies, very welcoming and everything. And here I am, out there with my glove that's too small, basically, but it's the only one I had. And I hear some of the significant others in the stands, of the other ladies there, and they were shouting, "Go Gay Lanterns!" And that's the term of endearment for our team is the Gay Lanterns, because it's 90% lesbians. And it took me a minute to realize it. I love this group of ladies. I literally know them maybe an entirety of like 6 games I think I made it to last year. But these ladies are some of the funnest freaking people, and they're so welcoming, and I really have the best time on Wednesday nights. And anyway, softball for me starts next week, and I'm super duper excited about it. I got a new mitt.
Okay.
Went to the batting cages today, and I practiced a little bit. So I will hopefully get back to my mediocre at best, but it's so much fun.
This sounds like a blast. So if you're interested in playing softball in the Madison, Wisconsin area, send us an email at itsokaytobegaypodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get you in touch with Veronica.
Come see our games at Brandt Park in McFarland, Wisconsin. Yeah, it's a good time.
Very cool. Very cool. Sounds like fun. I should get back into adult sport activities. I've been rock climbing lately, but it's only a once-off every once in a while kind of thing. And it's very just by yourself. Not a lot of people bother you while you're trying to boulder a wall. So, yeah, a couple of my friends are on a kickball league.
So not up my alley. Yeah,
kickball's fun. And I've been wanting to join their kickball leagues, but I just have not gotten up the gumption to do it. So,
oh my God, it requires
it's something I could look into. Maybe
just do it, and you will be like, "Why didn't I do this sooner?" I don't know about probably. You, but I love adult organized sports. There's something great about it.
I'm sure a lot of people do. Oh, Binks is joining us for the It's Okay to Be Gay podcast, and Binks, you want to introduce our co-host, Miss Veronica Witt?
And this is Mr. David Van Ettenwitt and Mr. Banks.
Big says hi, and he's very glad that you all are listening and joining us for the It's Okay to Be Gay podcast. as you can see, if you're watching the video of this on our website or the YouTube channel, Biggs is thrilled that you are here, and he is incredibly excited that I am holding him. It's probably his favorite thing in the world to be held, which is not true at all. But when he comes and bothers me in my office, that's what happens. He has yet to learn that that's not, what he wants, but it is what it is. So thank you guys for tuning into the It's Okay to Be Gay podcast. We're really excited to be sharing yet another wonderful story with you today. We have one of Veronica's old friends from way back. She's not old, but she's an old friend.
Oh, we're old.
Yeah. How do you know Rose?
So Rose and I did go to high school and middle school together.
Mm-hmm.
And we both were involved in theater productions and doing a lot of musical type productions and whatnot. And definitely our friendship circles overlapped. Rose is a year younger than me in school, and Rose was in the same class as our cousin Peter.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm really happy to have Rose on with us today to share Rose's story.
Yes, and I am sure that it's going to be absolutely incredible. And if the title of this podcast leaves anything to wonder, keep listening, because you're about to hear why the title is as it is, which is just phenomenal.
It's a good one. All right, today we are welcoming my friend Rose. Rose and I went to school together. As we just discussed, we realized it was middle school we attended together and high school. Good That's old Catholic school. Rose and I did a lot of theater things together, which obviously you'll delve into more. But Z and I had a kind of overlap of friendship circles. I feel like we were a year apart. But yeah, I feel
like a Venn diagram,
Yes, I agree. A Venn diagram of friends. Yeah. That's how all my friends would be. Anyway, welcome perfect. To Rose. We are so happy to have you on, and I'm happy after 20 years to see you again.
All right,
welcome to the It's Okay to Be Gay podcast. We're so glad you're joining us. So thank you for sure.
Pleasure to be here.
But yeah.
So obviously I'm more familiar with you, but tell us your kind of growing up story. Parental figures in the house, siblings, just general dynamics, things like that.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Rose, named after my great grandma. Yeah, I grew up in a blended family, right? My dad had, 3 children from a previous marriage, but full custody. So my older siblings are there's a 12-year age gap between my 3 older siblings and me and my younger brother. And we just grew up, in Appleton, Wisconsin, which I don't know if this has been covered on the show yet, but Appleton is the birthplace of Joseph McCarthy, and the childhood home of Harry Houdini. Yep. I always like to say, 2 people that were good at making things disappear. And it's the John Birch Society is there. It's a very conservative place. It's a very, very conservative environment. Yeah. But absolutely. I always live by the universe's grace, God's grace. Mm-hmm. My parents are not conservative people. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
My dad was UCC, United Church of Christ, Protestant, and my mom was a Unitarian, but didn't talk about it because that's Unitarians.
Yeah.
And my godmother was the Mother Superior of the Wheaton Franciscans. Ooh. So I spent a lot of weekends as a child with the nuns. But the chill, it was awesome. It was actually a really magical time. And in high school, I meditated on a mountaintop with a holy woman a lot. And that was magic. Right.
Yeah.
people are like, Rose, have you considered meditating? I'm like, I haven't meditated enough. Like, I'm good.
Been there, done that, got the
Been there, done
t-shirt.
that, right? But yeah, so mom put me in Catholic school. Well, I guess mom and dad did, but I think my mom was the one behind it. And I think it was because she was just worried about my literacy. I was also very dyslexic. But we were like country club rich kids that went to the Catholic school in town. I always have this memory of
It's fun.
I wanted to take communion when I was little, like 7 or 8. Everybody else was taking it. And also I grew up with the nuns, and they believed in not denying Christ. They kind of skirted the rules for me because I was my godmother's godchild, right? So I always took communion, and I just didn't understand why they wouldn't let me do it. And I will always remember I heard the click of my mother's heels before mass one day. This was in elementary school, and the principal was a nun. And her and my mom started arguing in these very hushed tones right before mass. And then they went into the priest's office, and like yelling ensued.
How Catholic of them.
And then my mom like left in her big fur coat and a huff.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that night my mom sat me down and said, "You take communion now." And I was like, "That's not how this works." And she's like, "I have better friends."
Wow. All right.
Oh my gosh.
But we were religious people. We were spiritual people, but we weren't Catholics. And that was always kind of like a weird thing. So, by the time I hit high school, I don't know if you remember this, Renica, but I was very involved in campus ministry.
Yeah.
I kind of thought about being a nun. I was like, maybe I want to become a nun.
Yes.
Virginia Mary was like, don't do that. You have better activities in your life. And I was like, no, I think I really want this.
And they're like, no.
Yeah. And, when I came out, it was kind of that was the problem, was my religious life was no longer respected in a lot of ways within the school community. Yeah. Suddenly it was not valid for me to go into a religious life. They sat me down and told me I was called to the single life. So in a huff, I actually I went to the Unitarian Fellowship and joined those services, and my mother was delighted, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, did you know that your grandparents were Unitarians?" It's like, I thought they were Lutheran, and she's like, "They're Unitarians, they don't care."
That's so funny.
She was really thrilled.
So you were very active, like you said, in campus ministry when you were in high school and stuff. When was it that you started to recognize that you might be a lesbian? Was that in high school? And is that when you came out, or was that later?
Yeah, I came out in high school. I came out at like 15 years old. I think at the time I was bisexual. I mean, like coming out, we have this idea of this binary of coming out, right? Like it's like, there's all of a sudden one day, like everything changes.
Yes.
And I distinctly remember a lot of first dates where that's what you would talk about, right? Would be like your coming out stories with each other. But now that I am 38 and a professor and a human, I realize life is a series of coming outs, right? Self-realizations or whatever. Like, we are not static creatures. We change. And thank God for that. But to answer your question in a more simple way, I was about 15. I never had really thought about it. Like I was always like being like, gay rights are important. But it never really occurred to me that could be me. And I think that was probably because I was like, no, I think boys are cute. Because no one had sat down, tiny Rosie and been like, hey, did you know that compulsive heteronormativity is a thing and more common with women? No one.
So you said like when you're thinking, coming out, it's like it wasn't even a big deal or a thing or whatever. Is that something you grew up in, that kind of mindset or that culture where it was just like an option, like there are gay people in the world and that's okay?
There are gay people in the world. You wouldn't want that to be you, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So gay people were people to be defended and pitied.
Okay.
I think was the mindset.
But your experience or your like the way that you handled that, though, it was that like a challenging thing for you to like.
Oh yeah, when I was like, it like clicked one day. I was like 15, and I was like, ah, crap. What if I'm gay? Like I remember that was the thought. I was like, oh man, I think I am attracted to it. Oh no, I'm attracted to girls. No, I can't be attracted to girls. And again, God's grace. I Googled dyke, which should have not gone well, right? This is like early computer.
Yeah.
Year 2000, right?
Yeah, like 2001. You know, we got that giant
internet.
dial-up. But I Googled dyke, and what comes up is Alison Bechdel's Dykes to Watch Out For, which is a really profound and important comic that satirized lesbian society and lesbian life from the 1980s to like she was writing it until like 2010, I want to say. When she then started Fun Home. She started writing Fun Home. And I read every comic. I read them all. At out.com or whatever it was.
I need to,
the early days of the internet.
Yeah.
I read them all and I was like, oh my God, I understood these people and like the drawings of these naked dykes. I was like, these are beautiful humans. And I was like, no, this is bad. I like this. This is very bad. I'm not one to be defended and pitied. And it just happened to be Ash Wednesday.
Of all days, right?
Kind of that week. And like all the Catholics had to go, like, we're in a Catholic school, right? So like everybody else had to go to confession and I just had to sit there and pray. And I was like, again, I meditated enough.
Right.
And I was like, I know who I'm going to talk to about this. A priest. He can't tell anyone. I could talk to him about it. And again, the grace of God. So I go pick a priest at random. He's got like the Wisconsin mustache, the Ditka mustache.
Yeah.
This
15,
is Joe's, right?
Youthful vigor. I've not lived long enough to appreciate the fragility of my life. And I go sit down with this guy and I'm just like, I think I'm gay. Like, I think I'm bisexual maybe. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm sobbing, right? Or like the tears are coming because I'm scared. And this guy, I don't know. I have never seen this man again. I don't know who he was. I hope he's having a long, healthy life in Mackville, Wisconsin, or Edwardsville, or wherever the heck he came in from. He told me that God gives us many gifts, and your sexuality is one of your gifts, and it is a sin against God to deny the gifts that God gives you.
Wow.
Those are very wise words, and that's really impressive.
I'm impressed.
And
that was a priest in our diocese, correct?
Yeah, that would be the diocese of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Yeah, that's really progressive.
There he was
up there.
That surprises me.
Was it an older priest or? Okay, it's probably.
Yeah, he was probably. I mean, at the time he looked ancient, but I'm sure he was like our age.
It was probably like 42.
God, I was so old. He's probably dead by now.
Man,
no, he just turned 52.
Exactly.
Well, that's rocking,
Rose. I'm so impressed. That warms my heart to hear that. Actually,
yeah, the man saved. I mean, my life today is thanks to that guy.
Yeah,
that priest.
Wow.
And it was like the heavens opened and the floodgates came, and I was like, it was a big realization. It's like that scene in But I'm a Cheerleader where she's like, I'm homosexual, and she's got like the snot dripping. That was it. It was just absolutely there.
Yeah.
So what did you do? What did you do with that? Then you got that information, you received that, that, and then where did you take that? Where did you go from there?
Well, I had a good sob by my locker. And I can't remember. Somebody came up to me and was like, hey, whatever's going on, it's going to be okay. It was boring. I don't know. And I was like, okay. And it was like, not okay,
That's too cute.
It was, and because life is complicated, right? Then I, kind of fell in love with the neighbor boy, Michael Casey.
Yes.
We dated for like 6 months.
Not?
Yeah, the neighbor boy.
I'm really glad that because I had this hazy memory of you.
Yeah. We were together for like 6 months, which is a very long time for a 15-year-old.
Funny.
Yeah. The way we met was like, I remember this clear as day. He was like, your brother and my brother are becoming best friends. We should become friends. And I was like, okay,
I
Senior
remember
with a
that now.
guitar. You know.
Oh,
Playing Green Day.
it's-
Yeah. Yeah. But eventually, then I came out in a very dramatic fashion. I followed John Byrne. We're just name dropping people that no one's like, who are these
It
people?
doesn't matter.
Um,
It's all good.
They're all wonderful human beings who are living
Yes.
beautiful lives.
Yes.
He had come out very publicly during Mr. Mothy's religious class during a debate. And the next year, I guess the same debate was happening because Mr. Mothy was a glutton for punishment or something. And someone from across the room was like, "Dyke," and I was like, "So what if I am?" And then I was like,
Yes.
"Go!" Came out.
Yes.
There it is.
Amazing.
And then
I
Mr.
feel like
Mothy went 2 for 2 and
That's-
took a knee because he really earned it.
I feel like everything
fantastic.
dramatic happened in Mothy's classes.
Well, yeah, because we had to talk about like ethics around your faith.
Yeah,
So
of
your life
course.
got challenged.
That's great. Yep, I remember John Byrne coming out.
Yep, and I followed suit the next year, and
Yeah.
then like everybody came up to me. And then the storm started.
Yeah.
Like then like I was like low key iced out of campus ministry. Like people came to talk to me. I had not come out to my dad. I'd come out to my little brother,
Mhm.
and I'd come out to who handled it like a champion. Oh my God, my brother was so sweet. He had to have been like, he's only, he's 3 years younger, right? So I'm 15. So he'd have been like 12, 11,
Yeah.
boy in Appleton, Wisconsin. I was like, Al, I think I'm gay. Would you still love me if I was gay? And he's like,
Aw.
yeah. You
Aw.
sure? Yeah. he's
That's
Aw,
so
sweet.
precious.
Yeah, he was perfect. He was so sweet. He's still my best friend,
Oh, I love
That's
it.
good stuff.
But yeah, then like everything just, I had some friends come up to me and be like, I think it's against my faith if we're still friends. And I was like,
Oh
okay.
my God.
Yeah, that kind of nonsense. But most people rallied. Weirdly, all of my ex-boyfriends really rallied around me and then all became
Yes.
friends. They all bonded kind of over like, well, which one of you did it? It was a
Which
group
one
effort.
turned her?
It was a group effort. Y'all
That
did
is
it.
so funny.
Oh my God.
Who caused this?
Yeah, who caused this? I was like, I don't know, but I'm gonna go make
Who
out
made
with
her
girls
turn?
at the Boys and Girls Club now. Bye.
Exactly. That about
That's
sums it
so
up.
I'm
funny.
gonna go have a very interesting life.
Now,
There
correct
you
me.
go.
if
So
I'm-
what? So you told your little brother, and what about? How did your parents come to find out? Like, what did
I
that
told my
look like?
mom. I mean, everything in my life is always so dramatic. I have a flair for it. So I told my mom, and she was like, "You don't want that. Like, you don't want to do that. Like, that's a bad idea."
Sounds familiar. Wow, have I heard that before somewhere?
Yeah, it's your parent, right? And it's 2001, and it was the oh no.
Marion.
You don't want to do
Continue.
that. We try. I mean,
That's
I get
so
it though.
funny.
I get why she was like, "You don't want to do that," right? Because it was also
Like protecting.
It sounds so crazy to be like 25 years ago, different time,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but it was.
Mhm.
Gay marriage was not legal yet, so even it was so different. Like we weren't accepted by society yet. We were still kind of forced to the
Yeah.
outskirts.
Yeah.
It was still dangerous to be gay. I mean, it's still dangerous now, but
Yeah.
to my parents, the gay people that they knew in their lives had suffered.
Mhm.
The only stories we get in media were of gay suffering,
Mhm.
right?
Yep, the AIDS pandemic.
I mean, they had
epidemic
just
and
gone
the
through a giant plague. So the only
all
gay people
of-
they knew were either dead or had
Mhm.
horrific complex trauma.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the early
and they still
2000s,
have
like
PTSD.
anything around being gay or homosexual was like a death sentence for like, you're never going to be with anybody. You're never going to have a family. You're
you
going to be
lose your
unhappy.
family.
You're going to die in 5 years. Like
Yeah.
you name it, all of the bad things. Yep.
Exactly. I mean, so
So
of course she was like, no,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And like at the time
Wow.
having this is Queenie, my chihuahua.
Oh,
Hi, Queenie.
cute.
He's a boy,
puppy.
but we name him.
Perfect.
He's so
Okay.
twinky. Look at him.
He is total twink. Oh,
That
look at
was so
this
I don't know.
guy. Is he Chihuahua?
Yeah.
Excellent.
All 3.5 pounds of him.
Oh,
Oh my
perfect.
god.
Where was it? Yeah, I had it. My ex-wife once was like, "What is with butch lesbians and chihuahuas?" And I was like, "That's not a thing." And then I like looked around and I was like,
Oh.
"Okay."
Oh.
Because I'm holding my
Okay.
chihuahua.
So your mom was like, no, you don't want that. And then...
Yeah. She was like, you don't want to do that. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. And I was like, I think I don't get a choice.
Yeah.
On that. I think the choice I get is whether or not I deal with, like, whether or not I live truthfully.
Accepted. Yeah.
That's the choice I get, is whether or not I'm going to be honest with myself and my family.
Yeah.
So, but she, you know, she was nervous, but she came, I mean, she's the biggest offender of them all, right? She'll cut somebody. Like, she's beautiful. And I didn't tell my dad, because everyone was like, don't tell your dad. He's really homophobic, blah, blah, blah. But when I told him, because I kind of had to, I was like going to come out in the Post-Crescent newspaper. Some article about gay kids, right? Because they weren't even doing GSAs, right? Like it was violent. And it was the center of a lot of debates. Like, just being gay at that point, it was kind of like being trans now.
Yeah.
Culturally, as far as like being the you know, the whipping boy of the culture war, right? Like, which I'm like weirdly in that now too. I'm like, oh man, come on. Can I just be not controversial for like 10 minutes?
I'll see myself out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go take a nap in Malta or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, my dad was like, and of course, like everyone's like, don't tell your dad. And then I was like, I gotta tell my dad. And my sister was like so upset about me coming out in the newspaper. She's like, don't do this to yourself. You're 18. You don't know. You know, they were trying to protect me, really. But back to my dad. Yeah, I told him. I like called him and told him, and he was like, I love you. Okay. You know, my roommate in college was gay. It's fine. Like, he was totally chill about it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He did say one really messed up thing, which again goes back to how scared everyone was for gay people. And he was like, I want you to be really, really careful being out in college. I don't want anyone thinking they can change you. He was worried about me getting assaulted. He was really worried about that.
Well, it's very it's from a place of compassion that those words came.
Right.
No, I think it was 100%.
Yeah, and it was probably wise words back then, like, watch yourself.
Yeah. He you know, that was, everybody was just, my family was just worried about me. They were worried about what was going to happen to me out there.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
And
so
you know
where did you go to? Go ahead.
You're right. To be worried.
Right.
Yeah. It was harder in Appleton. I mean, I moved to Chicago.
Where did you go to college before we jumped there? Oh, okay. You went to college in Chicago?
Yep. I went to Columbia College, Chicago, which was like an open admissions art school. So of course I get there, and my whole personality had been that I was a lesbian for 2 years, right? Like, I was the lesbian, or the bisexual or whatever. And I get there, and like, no one cares.
Exactly.
Like, that is...
You're like, oh, that's fun. So are these other 10 people and those other 10 people. And
not even. They were like, why are you even bringing that up?
Yeah.
That is so dumb to even, it's so passé to even talk about it.
Exactly. Well, and I was going to jump back real quickly to high school. Between you and Chris and John, like, I can't name any other non-straight person that we went to high school with.
Oh, I can name a lot of them. I won't. But they weren't telling anybody.
Don't.
They were the only ones out.
Sure. Yes.
We were the only ones out.
That makes sense.
I mean, that
makes sense.
It was a wild, I'm trying to reach back in my brain of like, this was 20 years ago, right? Like, there were a lot of people that were closeted.
Did we lose her?
And they decided I'd be a great person to tell.
I was like, oh my God, is she like back? Really in thought?
There we go.
Am I back?
Lost you for a second, Rose. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to include the Chihuahua. It's the perfect Chihuahua.
Okay. What were you saying right before then, though?
You know, you're reaching back 20 years ago. It was a really wild time to be a queer young person.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a lot of people that were closeted, and for some reason they were like, well, if the campus ministry nerd's going to come out, I guess I'll tell, Rose. So I kind of was holding everybody's secret about who was gay and who wasn't. And like, I had a lot of really weird conversations with the principal at the
Oh,
time who was very
God.
concerned for the students. He was like, "Why is everybody coming out? What's going on? Is it in the water?" And I was like, "No, they're just telling me." And I had to be like,
chocolate chip cookies.
yeah, just to be a
Yeah,
chaos
yeah,
demon.
yeah.
I like tried to make him create a GSA, and he was like, "Please stop, Rose. Don't do this to me."
Funny. Is that the
That's
Gay
that's
Student
important. I think
Alliance?
that's important
Yeah,
that you.
Gay Straight Alliance.
Oh,
I think it's
sorry.
important that you had that though, that you were able to be that person for these other people. That makes me happy. You know,
Yeah, I
it
mean, I
makes
think
my
if you're
past
going to
self
recognize
happy.
that there are angels among us, sometimes you are given an angel, and sometimes you have to be
Mhm.
the angel.
Oh, that's so good.
So yeah, I
Ooh,
think that was a lot of what was going on.
ooh.
So I was kind of holding
I feel
everyone's
an
secret.
episode title coming on. The Angel Among Us.
The angel, yes,
Ooh.
I am. Where are my wings? Yes, I'm like
Ooh.
a dykey polyamorous hoe.
Please give
I
Rose
love
some
it.
wings.
I love it.
No, I don't want the wings. I'm so tired. But we were part of the GSA and I'd bring these kids. I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gay," and I'd be like, "Duh, look at you." Get in the car, and we'd go to the Boys and Girls Club GSA that had all the public school kids. They had all the queerdos from town, the whole town.
Yeah.
And we'd drive around because I didn't have my junior and senior. I like somehow got out early. On like one of those days, like I just didn't have a final period. It was study. I don't remember why I was not
It's
going
the
in.
best.
Something was happening where it was like
Yeah.
I got out early. So we'd drive to like tiny little towns and pick kids up and bring them to the meeting
Oh,
to hang
that's
out for
great.
the night, or we'd bring them in for the weekend to go to this like coffee shop that was gay friendly. We called it the Gay Coffee Shop. And it was like a weird little
Beaners.
gay underground railroad.
No kidding.
Yeah, like we
Now,
were
how
just
did you
Love
find
it.
these kids in the little tiny towns? You
um
just like drive around, like
yeah, and just like have a big rainbow
Like,
flag.
plant
No,
big
it's kind of
backpacks.
word
Yeah,
of
you're
mouth.
like, hey.
I mean, it was a little word of mouth. You'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey, there's this gay kid here," like on the weird, like in part of the internet, right? It was like early
Okay.
internet stuff.
Yahoo group, maybe?
There was like Yahoo groups, or like there was like a chat on Planet Out, or just like sometimes like
You guys have a
we'd go pick up
GeoCities website?
boyfriend, right? We'd go pick up somebody's boyfriend in some tiny town, and then the boyfriend would bring like the other friend, and they'd be like, "Oh, there's a third one," and we'd be like, "Well, we got to go get him too."
Get in.
Yeah, get in the car.
Come on.
Come on, and like, because like that's how it goes, right? It was a
Mhm.
old, if we listen to our ancestors, our queer ancestors,
Mhm.
it was a whisper network.
Yeah.
And that's how everyone had to survive in times of oppression.
Mhm.
And we should remember that.
Absolutely.
And that's what we were doing. We were in a whisper network, and we were just whispering with each other. And if one of them went missing, you'd really panic because you were worried they were sent away. And sometimes they were.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
I lost some people in that time in my life because they didn't survive it. They didn't survive the conversion therapy.
Well, that's really sad.
I mean, it's yes, yeah, it's
That's
awful.
so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just awful,
Yeah.
But that is what was happening,
Right.
in Appleton,
And
Wisconsin.
just like perspective, in case people aren't familiar, Appleton, Wisconsin is near Green Bay, Wisconsin, but the population of Appleton right now is like 75,000 people. In the 2000s, it was roughly 70,000. So very small town. Not a lot going on there.
And we were going to
there's
smaller
polls,
towns.
But yeah,
we
so
were going to
like
smaller
all
towns.
of those little areas around, that's really neat. Wow.
We were picking up kids.
That's incredible.
It was incredible. It was, I think back on that, and we were so young and so dumb, and thank God, because we were too ignorant to know how dangerous
Yeah.
it
I
was.
was just gonna say, you had a goal. You just did it.
Yeah, well, and also it was kind of fun.
Of course.
Like, I think that's the thing that we kind of like. I had a good time.
I bet.
I had a great time. We were blasting music out of my mom's car. She was traveling all the time, so she had no idea what I was up to.
That's awesome.
Picking up cute girls from Ripon, Wisconsin, and like,
what's up?
you know, let's go. Yeah, we're doing dangerous stuff. Let's go to Madison for the weekend and walk around, you know.
Perfect. Walk states.
Yeah, we were just doing. We were having a great time. We were scared sometimes, but most of the time we weren't scared enough to. We weren't smart enough to know exactly what we should have been scared of.
Sure. That's awesome. I love that. The gay underground.
Yeah, it was a gay underground. I don't know if it was in it.
That's fun.
All right, so let's go back to college years where all of a sudden no one gives a shit.
No one cares. I was so horrified. I was like,
was there
who are you people?
Was there the need for, or at the time, was there an LGBT club that was at the university or college? Like, was that
there was, and it was, you joined the club just so you could go to the big gay conference.
Big gay conference.
The big gay conference. I don't know what it's actually called. I only knew it as the big gay conference because nobody came. Right? It was a theater. It was an art school.
Too late to go back to school.
College is an art school, huh?
I said, is it too late to go back to school?
Yeah, right.
David wants to
I want to go to the big gay conference.
What is this conference we're talking about? Who is this? Where are we?
The one I went to was in Ames, Iowa. Because I joined the gay club just to go to the big gay conference because I was told, oh, you have to go. It's so much fun. I was like, okay. But I didn't really, participate. There was no need for these meetings at Columbia College Chicago, because I think the way you got into Columbia College was like you were kind of gay and then like you smoked and then like it was just like a bunch of art bags just being like rolling joints. We were awful. We were awful goblins.
I love it.
I had so much fun. My chair literally was a bisexual Jewish man that would steal our joints. And then smoke them in front of you.
Funny. I was gonna say in front of you.
Yeah, no, he'd steal them, and then you'd smell your weed in his office, and you'd be like, "What?"
That's so funny. The conference is called the Midwest Bisexual Lesbian Gay Transgender Asexual College Conference, otherwise known as the Mumblegotutuk.
Big gay conference.
The Mumblegotutuk. It's the Midwest. The Mumblegotutuk. It's the Midwest Bisexual Lesbian Gay Transgender Asexual College Conference. It's hosted since 2004 there in Iowa. But yeah, that's pretty exciting, and it's the largest LGBTQ plus conference in the country.
I know. I went to 2004. I went to the first one in Ames. I had no idea. I'm always here. I am on the vanguard on accident, just trying to survive.
That's really
just
neat.
Making paving paths here.
Yeah, but yeah, there was no need. Like, my RA was this stunning, beautiful lesbian filmmaker that I was just like falling over. First week had my first like real lesbian heartbreak, just like slapped, right in the face with it. I met my ex-wife there. We met, like, she was like the third person I met. We were on the same dorm floor, and she hadn't even, she was like Baptist, running like, what do you call them? Jesus meetings. Like, she was having prayer meetings.
Jesus meetings.
Yeah. And I wanted to join in the meeting. This is how we met, is I wanted to join the meeting because I was still religious.
Yeah.
And she thought I was making fun of her.
Rude.
And kicked me out.
Rude.
So rude. So rude. Well, anyway, Q 4 years later, we ended up dating. And I didn't want to date her because I was busy, as my mother would call it. I was very busy in college. I was busy. I didn't want to date her because, I didn't want to date her because I was having so much fun. And I knew that if I started dating her, I'd marry her. I knew it. And I was not up for that. You know what I mean? I was not ready to like not continue the lesbian drama that was my life.
Yeah.
So I convinced my buddy Emily to date her, and they dated and fought the whole time until they realized that I was using Emily as a placeholder.
Uh,
Oh.
And then they
Here,
broke up
hold on to this
immediately.
girl for me until I'm ready.
That was exactly what I did.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
It was
I
really
love it.
genius until they both
That's
broke up
great.
because they figured it out, and then we're like,
Oh.
bros.
Oh,
And then I
oh,
was like, all right, I'll be an adult.
that's so funny. That's so funny. That's good.
Also,
Take some
classic
notes,
Rose
I
everybody
was
out
just
there
gonna say,
listening. Yeah,
people
this is
take
great life
notes.
advice. Yeah.
Rose has
Just get a
all the
placeholder.
dates.
And you know what?
Placeholder.
Emily's fine. Emily just had a baby a month ago.
Oh,
I know. Her and her partner just had a baby.
That's exciting.
I know.
for
They're going to
them.
be the best lesbian moms. I'm just so
Good for
excited.
them.
This kid's going to be so cool.
Fun. So college years, you were a lesbian, doing your thing on campus. Your family and parents at this point knew, and they
Yeah,
were
I mean, I was just
okay
like,
with who you were.
I figured out that I was butch. I figured out that I wasn't bisexual, right? I was like, oh wait, I'm just using like I figured out what compulsive heteronormativity was, and I was like, okay, we can get rid of that. I was like, I'm gay. I'm the gayest person ever. And I think I made it like a competition with myself to be like, how gay can I get? I think I actually still play that game. Like, what's that meme? Being gay isn't a choice; it's a game, and I'm winning. And I am. I am truly winning. And yeah, like I discovered my gender identity a lot more. I got more comfortable, not wearing clothes that my mother bought me. I got much more butch. Like, it's funny. Right now, I'm literally touring in Italy on a regular basis, doing a show about gender identity. And I tell a story about when I was about 19 years old, when my brother and my mom are fighting in the car and they're arguing. And I'm like, guys, I'm in the back seat. And they were like, shut up. This doesn't involve you. And they're fighting about how I am not bisexual. I am obviously a lesbian. And not just that, I am a butch lesbian. And my brother is yelling at my mom, like, look at Rose. Like, that is not a little girl. Like, that is a butch dyke. Like, you need to figure, like, you have trained this person to be a wife. Bad idea. You got to like get some gender. It's such a problematic story. But he was like, you gotta fix this, man. Like, Rose doesn't know how to change the oil on a car. And like, Rose is going to need that.
No one gives you a book of how to be a dyke, right?
Right? Like, and I remember my mom, like, we sat down to dinner that night and like, my mom looked at me real hard and was like, Rosie, gentlemen don't wear hats at the dinner table, and I suspect neither do you. And like took my hat off my head, and then like suddenly I was taking out the trash and like repairing crap. Like I got like a crash course in husbandry.
That's so funny.
Oh,
I know.
God.
That was my mother's like solution. She was like, okay, yeah, you're right.
Well,
There's gonna be a wife. Okay,
wow.
I can do this.
Solving problems.
She was. She is a practical woman.
All about solutions, that one.
That's amazing. So you got into theater now, and you are directing, and you're doing a lot. You're an actress or actor.
Yeah.
Proper way do you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the great joke, right? Is everybody was so worried, and being queer is artistically such a beautiful asset in my life. In my art and in my career, what I do, like, I work on a lot of productions. I get brought in, they're like, well, we need the lesbian to direct it. I get brought in for those lesbian stories, and advocating for them. And sometimes I get brought in just because they're like, well, maybe the lesbian won't be a problematic professor. And they're right. Actually, the joke's on them. I'm terrible, but for some reason, they're like, "Oh, but they're gender nonconforming. Z wouldn't hurt us."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't. I would never. I love my students. But yeah, like I'm, following the great tradition of lesbian opera directors. So I primarily direct opera and new musicals.
Yeah.
Weirdly, it's like I'm either doing opera or I'm doing like a punk rock musical about dykes. Like that's There's no in
That's
between.
your niche. It's an either or situation.
Kinda. I mean, I do other things. Please don't only hire me to do those things.
Exactly. Rose does more than just that.
So funny.
Take
You know, we
note.
all have a niche.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How
that's
dramatic of
primarily
you
what I
to-
do. I travel the US, and about every 7 years, like a cicada, I kind of get told I'm handsome enough to agree to be an actor. And I currently am in a cicada phase. I'm buzzing about
was
where
just gonna say
right now I'm touring a show called Ava,
Ava.
twice a year in Italy. It's a company based out of Bologna, and we travel around and we talk about how God's probably trans and should come out of the closet.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
with
neat.
these really wonderful cohort of actors who I love dearly, and we have a great time. And sometimes we get yelled at by old religious men at stage
Perfect.
doors.
Yeah.
That's great.
We don't have the
It
fight. I won't
happens.
have the fight. Me and like the two other trans people in the show are like, bye. We're
Nope.
good.
Nope.
But the woman who's like the mother figure in the story, because motherhood is very important in Italy.
Mhm.
In Italy,
Mhm.
Patrizia, who's like my dearest, most beloved human. Patrizia will go to town. She'll like just light up a cigarette and just be like, nah, like she'll cuss him out.
No.
She does it. She's like, I have a son.
That's perfect.
True ally.
Aw. So, loop us into kind of the identity to trans.
Yeah, totally.
How does that transfer and fit in your timeline?
Coming out is a constant
Yep,
process.
exactly. That's
Yeah. So we're gonna go back to the big gay conference.
all right. Oh,
All right. 19 years old. I'm being a true trash lesbian goblin, running around, having a great time, being awful. Throwing Jello wrestling matches in my backyard.
Can I just say Trash Goblin is also a really good title for the episode?
Yeah, trash goblin.
I'm
Trash
on it,
lesbian.
making a note.
Trash Lesbian Goblin.
The trash lesbian. We interview the one where we interview the trash lesbian.
Okay, carry on.
I used to have that website, and then I let the URL expire.
Oh my god.
Oh,
The
so
Trash
funny.
Lesbian?
Yeah, it was trashlesbian.com. Whoever owns it out there, contact me. I want it back. I'll pay for it.
Ooh, okay.
And the
I love
logo was a raccoon wearing a pair of overalls, just sticking like 2 fingers in the pocket.
Oh, perfect.
That's so funny.
I know. Mary
Okay.
Patchell, my friend Mary Patchell, great ceramics artist. I'm shouting her out. She made it for me in like the
Yay.
early pandemic. Anyway, okay. Why I'm under the trans umbrella. So I'm
Yeah.
at the big gay conference, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting in there, and we're doing a thing on pronouns and gender identity. Mind you, it's like 2004. So like
Mhm.
everybody's like, you either are or you aren't, But we're
Right.
still living in a binary. Gay marriage isn't even legal yet, right?
Yep.
It's bad. Or not. Like that's where we are in our culture at that
Yep.
moment and what our priorities are. And someone's like, well, there's lots of different pronouns. Here are neo pronouns. And like sometimes people don't, aren't just in between. It isn't just they, them. Like sometimes it's something more. And it kind of clicked for me right then and there, at 19 years old, where I was like looking at where my body was and where my relationship with my gender was. And I was like, yeah, I'm not right down the middle, and I'm not transmasculine, but I kind of am. And I just really felt right with Zzier, and I loved it. And I came back home from the big gay conference, and I was like, y'all, these are my pronouns. And my friends were like, Rose, you're not genderqueer, you're just bored. And I was like, this isn't worth fighting. Because like my gender is hands down one of the least interesting things about me.
Sure.
Like that, it's just not that interesting. Like it is like in that, like my gender is chaos, my gender is joy, my gender is mischief, my gender is poetry, my gender is also it's everywhere. My gender is also very practical. But I just kind of let it go. I had bigger fish to fry,
Right.
My ex and I got married before gay marriage was nationally legal. We actually got married 5 times, which for people who don't like gay marriage sure made us do it a lot. And then we went our separate ways. It was like one of our biggest acts of love, but it was also a moment of deep shame. Like gay marriage, when you get married before it's legal, and then you're one of the first people in your friend group to get married. It turns out gay divorce is really filled with shame. It's like extra shame. Divorce is already filled with so much shame. And then like if you're, supposed to be, we put so much pressure on ourselves at that time period, right? When we were in the gay marriage fight and in that movement, we had to be the perfect queers. See, we're just like you.
Exactly.
We're not scary. We got the picket fences and the babies, and because we were we kicked the trans people out of the movement, which they started it, so we should not do that. We really, we wore, we hit gender norms. We really embraced the butch femme dynamic. We did femme, right? Like we really did all we could to trick straight people into thinking that we could be like them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I say trick because I knew it was a lie. I don't know about you, but I was there because we weren't about to tell them that once you even kind of let us in society and you realized how amazing we were, that everybody that was living within the confines of the binary and heteronormativity was going to be like, wait a minute, this sucks. Get me out of here. We weren't going to tell you that. Because if we told you that, you'd never let us in the door because too many people were benefiting from it, of the oppression, right? Too many people were benefiting from having boots on the neck and keeping gender in place. And I'm including both ends of that, right? Like the patriarchy was benefiting from the patriarchy, but women were also benefiting from that gender norm, right? And a lot of people also weren't. Right. And we weren't about to rat ourselves out on that one. We weren't going to tell anybody that. They were right. They were like slippery slope. And we were like, no, never. Right. And here we are today. A great time. Tickets are right. That's a long way for me to say that I just didn't worry about my gender at that time because I had more important things to do. Right.
Sure.
And nobody, it wasn't a problem. Like it wasn't like everyone knew that I was butch. I was always, treated like a man by men and a woman by women and as something in between by those in between. And I was fine. It really wasn't an issue. Like I didn't need the pronoun until I started teaching at a university. And I walked into my directing class. I was teaching a directing course and I had like 6 students. It was a small class. And I have them do these presentations on themselves. It's part of my project. And every single one of these kids came out as queer. And several of them were non-binary. And I was like, how are all of you queer? I was like, did you come to this class on purpose? And they were like, yeah, we knew you were teaching it. We wanted to learn how to make this art from you. And I was like, is it because I'm a butch lesbian? And they were like, uh-huh. I know. And I was like, oh no.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks for the pressure.
You're like, thanks.
I'm going to go home and like sit about, I'm going to sit on this for a minute.
Yeah.
And I thought back to that moment where I had discovered that my gender was chaos and everything and poetry and joy and mischief and all those wonderful things. And I realized I needed to be honest with my students. If I was going to create and foster and encourage strong artists that were the future of my industry and my art form and my spiritual practice, right? I am no longer of the Catholic Church, but I make prayer rituals every day I go to rehearsal. That is what I am doing. I'm creating prayers and I am inviting communities in to feel themselves. And if I'm going to teach the future priests how to do this, then I got to be honest with those kids. I shouldn't call them kids. They're adults. They're grown-ups. They're 18, 19 years old.
Right.
But yeah, we call them kids, but I'm
Still,
working on
I
stopping
don't
it because
call
I
those
work with them and I'm
kids,
like,
too.
no, you're not a child. You've been sheltered. Stop being sheltered.
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
That's one thing I very much distinctly remember of your character in general in high school was this very, and I'm sorry to put the label in it, but this motherly um just outward love for people. And I really, it tickles me that you kind of have this, and not even motherly, but just this leader, this role model. These kids came to your class to learn from you specifically, and it's like that's a testament to how awesome of a person
That
you
feels good to
are,
hear. Thank you.
honestly. And I feel like like you had those, yeah, I feel like you had those role model, you just wanted everyone to be safe and everyone to feel welcomed. And I remember that distinctly about you in high school, and I love hearing that story about
No,
the
I think that's
class
beautiful.
too. But
I
carry
had a
on, I interrupted
lesbian
such a
commune. My ex-wife and I ran a lesbian commune. It was a burlesque commune. We always had one straight girl live with us, just to kind of keep us grateful.
Mhm.
And
Fun.
we did. We always had like one straight girl. Like the straight girl would move out, and we'd be like, "Oh crap, Carrie's moving out. We got to find a new one."
Yeah.
Just kept one around, and everyone called us mom and mom. It is maternal. I am maternal. Although all my friends' kids call me Uncle
Yeah.
Rose. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Interesting.
that's
I
great
asked for
though.
it.
I mean,
That's really
it's
funny.
all this. I mean, it's not all the same, but at the same time, it's that figure that people can go to and trust and know that you're a safe person and a warm
Yeah,
person and
it's the get in the
have
car
people's best
mentality. Let's get in the
interests
car.
in
Let's go.
mind. And
Yeah,
that's just awesome.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah. I haven't killed
Yeah,
anybody yet. Come
exactly.
on.
Get in the
That's where
car.
Uncle Rose is
It's
now.
gonna be
Here.
okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hold my beer.
Yeah.
Uncle Rose. Haven't
That's
killed
so
anybody yet.
funny.
But yeah, that's when I realized I just needed
I love it.
to
I love it.
live truthfully, with them, and then I had to whenever you admit something, then I had to go back to all my friends because we're all still really close and be like, hey guys, remember when you told me I was just bored? They were like, oh crap, you were serious, we're sorry. And they did genuinely, seriously,
Wow.
deeply
Wow.
apologize in this really beautiful way.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like the pronoun question, right? Because I don't actually care that much, but I'm just trying to be honest. Like that is where I am as a person. Yeah, like I just tell the truth.
Yeah.
So just
Absolutely.
a personal question, and something that everybody runs into at some point in time, like when people who meet you for the first time don't know your pronoun or don't aren't able to call you that because they're just unaware of that's your preference and that's who you identify as. How do you handle correcting them or directing them towards, or just informing them
it depends on the environment, because I do have strong survival instincts. I've made it this long. It's interesting because I actually just recently did a project and I got misgendered kind of in the first week. But I had bigger fish to fry. Right. And I didn't have anyone else in the cast that was non-binary or trans. So it was really just me. I was going to be the one with the problem. And I'm not proud of it. I was just like, fuck it. It's like, this isn't worth it. What was weird though is people would be like, oh, Rose, she, blah, 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 blah. And I legit would be like, who's she? Me, you're referring to me. Yeah.
Oh, that's me. Oh, sorry. You're talking about me.
Yeah, exactly. They would be
I'm
like
the
talking
she
about
in the
and I'd be
room.
like, who's she? Like I'd be legitimately confused and they'd be like, and I'd be like, don't worry about it. Never mind. But I did have to Google, it's interesting because a lot of opera has what they call pants roles. They have women who play men. Drag's been around forever, guys. Yeah, absolutely right. And the opera I was working on,
Absolutely.
this specific one had a pants roll, and it had my friend Michelle was playing Prince Orlovsky, and she's played him a million times. And we were about to open, and it clicked for me where I was located that I was getting dressed for opening, right? And I'm putting on a suit and tie and a vest, I'm looking handsome, and I'm in like deep South. And I'm like, okay, I look good. Like, this is going to be great. I'm feeling handsome. And then I was like, I need to Google if this is okay. Oh my God, Michelle. No. We were good.
Oh no.
But that is, and I'm doing
That's
another
funny.
gig in a different location, and I had to Google
That's
the
funny.
municipal laws to make sure that what I was doing,
Wow.
was legal. It's awful. Because in opera, the director on opening night goes out and bows. So I would have, even if I didn't have Prince Orlovsky in that show, I would have been breaking the law by going on stage and bowing if that was the case. I mean, these people just don't know that by banning performance art in this way, you're also banning probably something that you think is this high art form. It's not. They're banning operas. It's annoying.
Yeah.
To say the least. I mean, it's like the slow encroachment of fascism. This is always how it goes. They go for the trans people and all the time through history. They go for the queers, they go for the trans people, they go for the cultural misfits because we can go back into the closet. But to answer your question, your original question of how I go about it, I introduce myself with my pronouns, and I think we all need to do that. It's common practice because I meet a whole new pack of people every month because of what I do for a living. We normally go around, and I just forgot to do it on this one. I've never forgotten, and I just forgot, which is how I ended up being she for an entire month. These poor people, and I just couldn't bear to correct them. I just couldn't do it. I was just like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
It'll send them into a tailspin.
So
they'll feel bad.
I
just couldn't do it.
Like, okay.
But I did a few of them I'm going to work with again later. And I was like, hey, just so you guys know, those aren't my pronouns. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. That's the problem, right? Yeah. And they were like very apologetic.
So now they know.
And I think everybody needs to do this. Cisgendered people need to do this. It's your name.
Good.
Hi, I'm Rose Freeman. My pronouns are easier. What are yours? What's your name? Like, we should all be doing that. Yeah. I was doing it before I came out, and just make it normal for everyone. We should all be doing it. Because, also, who the heck am I to be assuming your pronouns? Veronica, what are your pronouns?
Right.
She, her?
True.
David?
She and her.
Great. See?
Yep.
It's fine.
Yeah, he can.
Now we can move on with our lives.
No, we have it. I think, and now we can proceed. At my work, we have little tags for our name badges that have our pronouns, and I would say a strong majority of my coworkers do wear them, and I appreciate that they have that available for us at work. I feel like it creates
it does
a safer environment. I feel like for our patients, if and we might not be walking in the room necessarily and introducing ourselves depending on what the situation is with medical things.
However, and it clarifies things, right? It's a clarifier like anything else. It's a really simple thing to do. I don't know. It's just like, everybody grow up. Like, it's super simple. It's super easy. And also, I don't, I let other people correct people for me.
Yeah.
Why should I have to constantly defend and advocate for myself in this way? I'm existing and I have a right to exist. This was what getting gay divorced taught me. I don't have to be the hero, right? Just because you're gay doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Gay people have a right to exist. Trans people have a right to exist. I have a right to exist. And that means I also have a right to exist in the messy, beautiful, complicated way that I am. We don't question straight people on this stuff. Right? Like, we have a right to be disasters, just like everybody else. Right? Going back to college, nobody cares.
Exactly.
Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
bottom line is nobody cares. Yeah. And
So true.
let people have it. And I like that. That's again a testament of how like welcoming you are as a person too. Is just you, like you said, you pick your battles, and but it is really
yeah,
important to
that's their
have those
job.
friends
Otherwise, they're
who will
not
go back.
friends.
I find myself multiple times.
Right? I
Yep.
have
Yep.
not the right, but I have the privilege of being surrounded by a beautiful community, because none of us are anything without our communities. And I am going to be
Mhm.
part of that community,
Right.
right?
So true.
And that also means that my community is part of me, right? And I will contribute. I will do my best. But also I can let other people do their best and contribute and take care of
Right.
me. Yeah. I deserve that. I'm a good human.
Absolutely.
End of story. Yeah.
I do. That's yeah. Absolutely. Yep. A similar thing with patients we see, and a lot of times they are underage, and we sometimes have followed these patients for a couple of years, and I've noticed that a handful of them, when we see them for the appointment, I'll see their preferred name change, and we have the ability with our software that their gender identity can be changed, and it has their pronouns. And we actually went through with the patients. I work in ophthalmology, so their glasses prescriptions would print out and they would have their birth name on it, even if their preferred name changed. And some of these trans kids were very much even just by identity. And so you'd take this person that you're trying to cultivate this safety and this awareness and this authenticity for them, and to encourage that, and then we'd hand them this piece of paper that
You've
has
just
their
undone
name on it.
everything.
And we've exactly, and we actually got it changed so that their preferred name would show up on this piece of paper, so they wouldn't have to go in to get their glasses filled, and clearly that's not Susie is not Susie.
I mean, it's I think what you're describing is like basic politeness and human decency. I mean, this kind of goes back to like,
correct.
If the straights only knew what we were going to open up, right? It's, and I don't mean to sound like a separatist, because I'm not, some of my best friends are straight. And this is something I think we really need to aggressively unlearn, is we ran the politeness campaign in the early 2000s, and that campaign is dead. I don't think we have the room, energy, or safety or privilege as queer people to run a politeness campaign anymore. I think we need to, I now exist as if gay is the default, because and I exist and I am very comfortable and happy in the bubbles I exist in the world, because it has been made unsafe for me and the people I care about outside of those environments. So they don't get me anymore. Right? They don't get it. And if they want me, if they want to come hang out with me, if they want to enjoy the things I create, the art I make, the cultures I inhabit, the education I develop, then you're going to have to figure out a way to adjust yourself to my environment. It's now everyone else's turn to adjust. And if you meet the kids, they have figured it out, and they're adjusting a lot faster. And it's going to be a very cold, lonely world for people who are living within heterosexuality as a default.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer the case. And it should have never been the case, because it's just not real. Yeah. And I say this as somebody who works in Mississippi, Atlanta, Florida. Like, I am working in environments that are deeply conservative, and I get along with those guys. I don't know why rich old white men love me, but they do. I think it's because I'll listen to them about like car parts and shit. Because it's fascinating. Rich old white guys probably did something weird to get there, and they're really interesting guys.
That's so funny. That's really neat.
Well, I think you are amazing too, and I think everybody should.
Yeah, any of our spaces, right? Queer people are always making the best stuff. Why would you?
Yep.
Right? But we also aren't obligated to. We don't have anything to prove anymore. We can be goblins. We have entered our villain era. We have a right to be terrible. No tea, no shade to the queers out there who are like living their best suburb life with their babies. Like, I'm very proud of all of you. Thank you for letting me hold the baby. I will sniff the top of its head for hours. It's what I got to do this weekend in between, and then I hand it away. Be left alone with a baby
and go
because
bye-bye.
not because I'm weird or a problem, but because I am irresponsible. I'm not going to do anything weird, but I don't know what to do with the baby. I'm just going to sit there and be like, oh man.
Phenomenal. You're going to make it a lesbian. The more you touch it, it's just going to rub off.
I've met enough people that were born men that are now lesbians, okay?
So
it's a stressful process.
I know.
Yeah, there you go.
Rose, you have a incredible
thanks for having me.
Story. This was really fun. If there was you're great. And I'm not kicking you off. We're not done. I'm not closing the book. We're not give me another 5 minutes. I'll wrap it up then. No.
And I bet you thought it was delicious and I want to go
what I was gonna say.
She's a nice lady.
Oh yeah, the
It's dinner time. And I'm almost out of drink, so we gotta wind this down. But no, I was gonna ask, like, I mean, all of the information and all of the journey that you shared with us, all the stories that you told us, and all these steps to becoming who you are and where you are now and how you identify with yourself. That's so relatable and so important. If you had the platform to do such, which, hello, you're here and there's people listening, what would you tell people who were in your shoes, 20 years ago today?
I'm going to say two things, because I spend a lot of, no, you're getting two.
Yeah.
You can only say one. Just kidding.
Thank you. I tell you I have a bulldozer of a personality. No, I talk to 16-year-old me all the time.
I love it.
I talk to 16-year-old me all the time. I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? And they're like, it's crazy out here. And I'm like, it gets so weirder. It gets so much crazier. You have no idea. Like, I'm constantly talking to like 18-year-old me and being like, hey, do you know that none of your dreams come true because you're too ignorant to even dream of what actually happens? Like, it's so much wilder if you just let it be. I got to say that to myself the other day. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
No, I would, because I get to talk to young people all the time. Two things. One, you don't have to like yourself all the time to love yourself. Just love yourself. There's a difference. And then you might start to like yourself a little bit. But
yeah.
The other is
I like
there is so much joy in being unapologetically yourself. And that's going to change all the time. And you don't have to apologize for changing. Yeah. I guess they're kind of the same thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, but like sometimes we don't know who we are, right?
Be you. Just be yourself.
Change.
Right, but it unfolds. Yeah. It unfolds over time, and it's okay.
I think it's
to be
more
gay
than
and
okay to be gay.
Life,
I think it's better.
I
I'm a gay supremacist.
There's a lot of
my life
positives.
As a gay person is so awesome. And it is in part because of my queerness.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's you. I mean, you've embraced yourself. It's so commendable just as a human being, period. And especially as such a good advocate for LGBTQ people, but you just are so literally are just like
I mean, like, lesbian sex is really
and I love
good,
that.
y'all. Like, yeah, you shouldn't try it. I think you've got your own thing going on.
I'll take your word on
it. David, don't try it.
Lesbian art is fantastic. The culture is amazing. I ran a freaking commune. I had a chosen family that was beautiful and ever expanding. Like, I don't have gender expectations I gotta worry about. Like, being gay is part of why my life is so great.
Awesome.
It is my
Ugh.
God bless my family, but they were
There
wrong.
you go.
It was awesome. Best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
That's an awesome experience you had. I'm really grateful that you were able to.
Yeah, it's gonna make like
do
the
that, 'cause
incoming like
so many people aren't,
mass
you know?
murder that everyone's plotting on us so worth it. Like, I know we're laughing because like it's gonna be real bad, y'all. Like, hold on. God. It's happening. It's happening.
coming.
It is
Count the
happening. Like
days.
it's we're gonna go down. But you know what?
Oh God.
I've had a great time.
Oh. You're
I'm having a great. I'm gonna have a. And you know what? It
Just
serves them right.
loving it.
I'm gonna tap dance all the way up to the gallows. Yeah. So you guys gonna be miserable.
There you go. There you go.
Oh my God.
Well, geez, Rose, it's been such a treat. Thank you. You are
Absolutely.
an incredible person, and what a
Yeah, I
fun
love
story.
talking about myself,
I've had
so
a great
thank you.
time having you on. This has been great. Yeah, you
No,
should.
that's exactly what that's exactly what
This
we
is
need.
great.
Is people who love talking about themselves.
I think a lot of gay people are like that, which is why we've had so much success finding people to be on the podcast. Everybody's like, I'd love to tell my story. I love talking about myself. I'm a wonderful thing. Da, 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 da. So, yeah, which no, and everybody has been so far. So it's been great. And your story is, that was really fun.
Check
and you
out,
seem like just an awesome person.
Yeah.
We will have Rose's.
Yeah, I make a lot of
website,
art.
right?
So, you know, if you feel like
somewhere linked.
watching my art,
Yes. Do you want to? Yeah, go. You
rosefreeman.org,
can share it
I
here
am an
if you want. What is
organization
it?
unto myself.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love being chaos.
Oh,
Whoever owns
check out
the
Rose's
URL,
stuff.
RoseFreeman.org,
no, whoever owns
stage director,
trashlesbian.com, I want it back.
etc.
Give it back to me.
Oh
No,
yeah.
it's just
Contact
Is it the
trashlesbian.com.
trashlesbian.com or just Trash
I was
Lesbian?
probably drinking too much. I don't know what happened. Eating string cheese.
Well,
Yeah,
it happens.
sorry.
Ooh, I love it.
Give it
So
back.
there you go, trashlesbian.com. We are looking for you, and Rose is interested, and you can reach her at rosefreeman.org.
You're gonna have.
I don't need another commune.
That probably doesn't scare
She
her.
is going to
No more
find
communes.
you. So funny. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Rose, thank you so much for joining us on the It's Okay to Be Gay podcast. Veronica, thank you for reaching out and getting Rose in touch with us. This was just such a treat. And Rose, I know you have so much more good to do out in the world, so keep doing it because you're a great person. So for all of you who are joining us on the podcast today, listening, thank you for tuning in. We hope to share many wonderful stories beyond, and we will see you guys next Wednesday, hopefully. Just know that you are recognized, appreciated, and loved here. So thank you so much, and y'all have a great rest of your day.